Blue Earth County Board meeting of July 18th ordered. All stand for pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there is one additional item to add to the agenda today. We received a application for a gambling permit for Holy Family Parish, which we've set at your individual seats, but we'd put that under administrative services.
Okay. Move to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
Is a second. In discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Okay. Well, we can do some committee reports quick and get into administrative services. Let's start. Are you ready, Drew?
I'm always ready.
Yeah, that's I figured.
Born ready. Yeah. Okay, so we had our last regular board meeting was June 27th. And since then, see, we also had, I attended the the 28th Vine board meeting, 28th, let's see, Region 9 full commission meeting on Wednesday the 28th. And trying to think, we had a new president or chair of Region 9. It's Commissioner Steve Rolfing from Nicollet County. So a little bit of change up there. A good thanks to Brad Ahrenstorff, the mayor of Lake Crystal, who was the chair the last 2 years. So, and then of course we had our 4th of July holidays. Then July 5th we had our department head meeting. I had a meeting with Bob on the 6th. The 10th there's a government center exterior building committee meeting that we had, and just kind of meeting with ISG. They were kind of trying to look at some ways, some money saving things that were incorporated into the planning of the mostly the ramp really, but and then Vine Pool open house. That was something else to be there. That was a vision that they'd had for a long time. So now they've got their pool open in the basement.
Nice.
And it's really something to see. If you have any time, just walk right in and just you can see it through one of the door windows there. Then on that same day, July 10th, Monday, we had our Blue Earth County, Nicollet County Safe Roads TZD meeting, and I think it was one of our most well-attended meetings we've had. We've had quite a few people there, and if it's okay, I just want to just briefly touch on something. I wrote a letter of thanks to a young man. His name is Lucas Cruz with the Boy Scouts of America, and he, I think he's working for his Eagle Scout, and he got some of his cohorts together, and he went all over the place to parking lots. And you might see these stencils. It says "Buckle Up." So he spray painted those all over the place. If you see them, I sent a letter of thanks to him for doing that for us. That reminder comes in good. Then Tuesday the 12th, we had a real short special board meeting before our work session just to approve a contract that we needed to. And then we had our county work session on the 13th, Highway 14 partnership over in Owatonna. Karen Foreman is our president, and Vance was there and asked some good questions. We had 9 legislators from this region, from the corridor, and it was really quite a good meeting. On the 14th, went on a family vacation up to the boundary area up there, and last night I just got back in. I didn't tell you this. I told Mark this morning. About 11 o'clock in the morning, I was on the Canadian side of the water, 3/4 throttle, rough water, and there was a deadhead I didn't see. And if you don't know what a deadhead is, it's a huge log sticking straight up. And if it had been above the ground, it would have just pushed down under, but it wasn't. It must have been resting on the ground, and the boat tipped so powerfully that it actually threw my back out, and I thought we were going to possibly flip over. And we're about only 17 miles from any road, so anyway, we're glad to make it back.
You're here, Drew.
Yeah,
Glad you made it back.
About 9 o'clock last night, and so that's my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, Vance.
All right. Right here. Okay. On June 28th, I attended a CADA meeting with over at the CADA House. They're one of their monthly meetings, and then I also had a Historical Society strategic planning meeting that they felt that I should be on. On July 5th, Will and I met with Bob, and then we had a department head meeting right after that meeting. On July 6th, I had a NACO Central Region call-in. On July 11th, we had a work session, and then I had a Children's Museum meeting. On July 12th, I had the Highway 14 partnership. I had community corrections. And on July 13th, I met with a Mary Ann Bow, who is has a group that's called Deva Nation, which is a compassionate community for end-of-life care that she's actually working in the city of Mankato with, and it's a great group, and she's just looking to see if there are other people interested in that sort of thing. On July 14th, I had a community farm meeting, and then that evening was a Relay for Life, and my wife and I attended that. And then on the 17th, or yesterday, I had my Transportation Alliance Board of Directors meeting up in St. Paul. Actually, we went up to a union, it was a cement and plasterers union training area up in St. Paul. So it was kind of an interesting, they gave us a tour and stuff. But that's the end of mine.
Okay, thanks, Vance. Will?
Yeah. Of course, on the 4th, they had the parade and fireworks in Vernon Center. That's always an enjoyable time. On the 5th, Vance mentioned that he and I met with Bob, and then we had the department heads. On the 6th, they had a landowners meeting for JD 17 down by Garden City. Then we had the SWCD meeting after that. On the 10th, Kip and I were at the joint ditch meeting in Waseca. Those folks talk about some ditch issues. And then that afternoon, I did my monthly briefing at Crystal Seasons and Lake Crystal Towers over in Lake Crystal. The folks at Lake Crystal Towers have been participating in the True Transportation System, and they've been kind of advisors and letting us know how things are going with their route and that type of thing. So, of course, on the 11th, we had the special meeting and the work session, and after that, we had a transit meeting in St. Peter, and then the open house for the water plan after that. And then on the 14th, Vance mentioned that we had the community farm meeting. So that's my report.
Okay, thanks, Will. Kip?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After our last board meeting, I had a couple ditch public informational meetings that we'll be seeing those in the next couple months here probably. One was one that needs some good major cleaning throughout the whole entire project. These projects are getting so expensive. I mean, that one was several $100,000. And the one we had after that was one that needs some improvement and some repairs, but there's only like 11 landowners on it, and the repairs are like $800,000. So we're gonna have to kind of look at that one a little deeper to see what happens. But that's why it's so nice to have these informational meetings for these ditch problems, because it just gives everybody an informal way to try to discuss some of these issues instead of doing it all here at the board meeting. So appreciate the staff setting those up and working with those. Had planning and zoning, we have a couple items, we'll see those in a few minutes here. It was non-eventful, everything went through without a whole lot of discussion. We'll mention the county, or the judicial ditch over in Waseca County, so we got to go over and see those commissioners and some of their staff. Work session was already mentioned. I thought we had a great discussion on the building and the process of moving along with all the projects we got going on. I was at the land use plan meeting the other night. We're just talking about, as we wrapped up these informational meetings throughout the county, the 4 regions we went into, and so this was our second meeting as a whole group. We started going through the process and hadn't really got to the meat of changing the policy yet, and so we did decide to extend one more meeting of this group, discuss it just a little more, because we've gotten through the whole process. We talked about the data that we got back. A lot of concern about, you know, land use and environment. Environment's been a huge, we only got like 40 or 50 responses, but environment and sensitive areas are a very big concern of people, and they heard that in all their group sessions also. So we're going to keep working through that, and we did decide to just have another meeting. We talked about trying to do it via email, but the group thought, no, it's better just to get together and talk about it in person, and that way, this is a very important policy that we need to make sure we get it done right. We was over at Tater Days parade. Patrick and I were in the parade, and it was very hot walking through the parade, but threw out a lot of candy. They had a great turnout for the weekend, for as warm as it was. Yesterday I had my South Central Workforce Program. We approved our budgets. Everything's down a little bit, but we managed to be able to provide the same exact service we have in the past, even with the cuts. And then we had our MVAC program last night with all of the awards we gave out for the people that are in the system, and had a great turnout. The Senator Nick Prince was there, and Representative Clark was there. Both gave a little talk and had a nice meal down at the Loose Moose, and had a good time. And then this morning we're all at the new employee program. So brings me up to date, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Kip. Just a few other things. Of course, we had department heads, the work session, short board meeting, and then the 4th of July, I actually had the honor and privilege to be with the county attorney in Cambria. I thought I was representing you well, Will, that you couldn't make it, and unable to make it, but and that was a good time. A neat little parade. This was a lot of, actually, quite fun. Then on Thursday, July 12th, I had our Partners for Affordable Housing. We had, as the president of the board, I then welcomed and introduced our new director for Partners, Jen Thieneman, and she came from Open Doors, and she got to meet all the staff, and they, of course, got to get a little more familiar with her, and starting out on the right foot, and everything looks good. So hopefully we'll reach higher heights with Jen. I know we will with the Partners. July 14th then was a joint staff and policy group at Kaburba. Ms. Conrad was there, and that Julie Conrad, and it was a good meeting, and that was on the 14th, and that pretty much brings up to date too. So
Drew and I stopped at
Oh,
Julie's open house too.
yeah.
oh yes,
We
yes.
didn't stay too long.
Yes.
We
I
wanted to
was
get there.
there.
Make it.
Yep.
I'm glad you guys made it. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah. So, all right. That then brings us back to
Mr. Chair, we'd like to do a couple of
Yep.
administrative
Do a couple
items.
things quick.
First up would be the county board minutes for June 27th, as well as a separate one for July 11th.
Motion for acceptance.
Second.
And move second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. We have time for the bills? Sure.
I'll move the bill.
Second?
Been moved in second. The bills, all the weeks. Any questions?
Just a couple quick ones.
Go ahead.
On the first week, there's a David Chambers, contracted services for $21,700 something. I'm just curious what that is, Bob.
That's repairs on 3 county ditches, ditch 5, 36, and 50.
Okay. Geislinger and Sons, contracted services again, but $315,000.
County ditch 28.
Is it? More ditches?
That is
it?
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a $2 million project.
I was just wondering,
It
there's
can't
a
be
big bill
said.
there, I didn't know what it was. And then the week 3, is we had 3 weeks worth of bills.
No.
Forklifts of Minnesota says personal property, and it's 23,000 something. I don't know.
So that's a floor scrubber that was purchased for the new Ponderosa building.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I imagine they would need a specialized one there.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? All right.
I'm
thanks,
good.
Drew. All right, all those in favor of the motion? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Bill's been paid. I think we're at 9:15. So we can have Ms. Julie Conrad up here with the comprehensive water management plan, public hearing.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Hi,
Julie.
Morning.
Good morning.
I guess we just have to open, or do we have to, yeah, you have to give the briefing first, then we'll have the open for the hearing.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the final draft of the water management plan is now ready for the public hearing. When it's adopted, this will be the county's 4th water plan. The county board adopted the first plan in 1990. Minnesota Statutes 103B 315 requires the county board to conduct a public hearing before the plan is submitted to state agencies for final review. The county board is not required to take official action as part of this public hearing, but you may approve the plan for submittal to the final plan for state review. The process for developing the plan is largely prescribed by Minnesota statutes, and the organization of the plan is as required by the Board of Water and Soil Resources. I'll give you a short summary of the process. The county board initiated this water plan update by resolution 2 years ago in July 2015. Right after that, the county invited 5 state agencies, all the cities and townships in the county, and all the adjacent counties to tell us what priority concerns should be addressed in the plan. We conducted an online survey in 2015 for citizens and local officials to tell us what concerns they thought should be in the plan. And we held a legally noticed public hearing, or public meeting, in February 2016. Every concern that was submitted by citizens, local officials, and state agencies is addressed in this plan. The state agencies reviewed the county's list of priority concerns in the plan, and it was approved by the Board of Water and Soil Resources. To develop the plan, we worked with a water plan task force of citizens and elected officials who met 5 times in 2016 to provide input and review the plan, and they were also invited to an open house meeting last week. We worked with local staff who will be implementing the plan to help assess the water management priorities and propose goals and strategies. And we also worked with technical and local stakeholders to update criteria for the grain print and for prioritizing wetlands. In 2017, this year, we had 2 open house meetings and a meeting with local officials focused on shoreline management. Altogether, we had about 40 meetings with citizens, stakeholders, and technical advisors during the 2-year planning period. We posted a link to the draft of this plan on the county website along with the public hearing notice. And we also included a comment form to allow citizens to submit any concerns or comments until 8 a.m. this morning. We received none. We received written comments supporting the plan from Mike Roll, the president of the Crystal Waters Project, and the board of the Minnesota Pheasants Blue Earth County chapter. And we received comments complimenting the groundwater section of the plan from the Minnesota Department of Health and the groundwater priorities mapping that we did from the DNR hydrogeologist staff who worked on the Geologic Atlas of Blue Earth County. The content of the plan supports many ongoing strategies for well sealing, well testing, agricultural BMPs, feedlot septic systems, stormwater, wetlands, and household hazardous waste collection. There are 2 new priority concerns in the plan: aquatic invasive species and near channel erosion, which is ravines, stream banks, and bluffs. Stormwater management and drainage strategies were added and updated to improve local training and coordination, and work with multiple jurisdictions to update stormwater management ordinances policies and coordinate the environmental considerations with drainage projects. The plan update utilized new information and technology to support targeting and implementation practices, prioritizing areas for wetland protection, enhancement and restoration were objectives in the current water plan. So extensive work was done as part of this update to prioritize areas for wetland protection in the green print, and priority areas for water storage, priority areas for nutrient treatment, and priority areas for groundwater protection and recharge. After today's public hearing, we will make additions if needed and as directed by the county board. And we'll submit the plan for final review. After the Board of Water and Soil Resources approves the plan, then the county officially adopts it finally.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, of course, then at this time, we're going to open up to the public comment portion of the hearing. And the public comment portion of the hearing allows opportunity for citizens out there to address the county board in a public setting. So, at this time, if there's anybody who wishes to speak, make comments on this comprehensive water plan, please come forward, state your name and address, and make your comments. Again, we will do that for 3 times. Second time, any comments from the public audience regarding this comprehensive water plan? Again, for the 3rd time, forever hold your peace. Any wanting to discuss comments on the water plan, please come forward. Okay, hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board. And wishes of the board, they want
Move
to...
to approve to bring forward.
Okay, been moved in a second. All kinds of seconds, okay. Any discussion, questions?
If there's any questions, I just wanted to make a comment and thank Julie for all her hard work on this program. I was involved in several of the meetings, not all 80 or whatever it was, but I'm assuming the open house went pretty well the other day. As I said, Drew and I were there earlier. You looked like you were having good discussion with some of the stakeholders, and I think that went well, and I hope the open house went good for the rest of the afternoon. So,
It did, yes.
but this is a long, hard process, and I think there's just a lot of nice things come from this plan, and we're going to incorporate some of this into our land use plan also. So that's kind of all going to kind of tie together, because that's some of the discussion we had the other day, was tying all of our other plans into our land use plan, because you can't just disregard everything else we got going on. So that was brought up, and Julie was actually at our meeting and talked about the water plan the other day. So it worked out really well. Thank you for your time.
Drew?
Yeah, and over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to meet with Julie and talk about issues relating to water and soil, in our county, and some of it was related to this plan that was coming up. And I appreciate the time that you gave for that. And I did notice you said that you added 2 new priority areas. And what about the other ones that we had in the plan before then, like the TDMLs, for the water quality and that sort of thing? Are those still existing then as priority areas, or do they kind of get shelved a little bit, or what happens?
Those are also priorities. They continue to be priorities
They
in
do?
this update,
Okay,
yes.
I was just curious about that. And then this will help guide some of our decision-making, do you think, in the future for the county? I'm just curious, as you say, you're going to incorporate this maybe into our land use plan. Will we refer to this then, I'm assuming, somehow, probably through some of our philosophically speaking, or direction we want to go with water. I just know that we've got several rivers and quite a few lakes that are listed on the impaired waters list with the state of Minnesota, and, for various reasons. But they're listed if it's just even one area of impairedness, isn't it, Julie, usually?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your work on this.
All right. Any other discussion? I just want to say, I commend you again for all your hard work, and it's an important area, the subject, and it's a good resource, but it's not always gets the headlines unless people get flooded, I suppose. But anyway, that's good. Hearing no more discussion, we have the motion before us to approve the submittal of the plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Julie.
Well, let's see, you want to go, what we got here? Oh, I guess we're close enough for the drug court cooperative agreement with Josh Milo. I think we're close enough.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning, Josh.
Morning,
Morning,
Josh.
Josh.
I just have the one item today for the agenda is that we have received our new, I still call it the drug court cooperative agreement. They have statewide are moving towards calling it treatment court. So it's been a little more difficult for me to get away from calling it drug court, since that's what we've had since the inception. But our new cooperative agreement with the 5th Judicial District calls for $160,000 of funding over 2 years, which is an increase of $25,000 per year, or $50,000 total over the contract. Really pleased that we're able to bring this contract. 2 years ago, this was something we were looking at having zeroed out and having no funding for us to provide services for supervision for our treatment court. But with this, it looks like we've stabilized with the funding of the legislative session. So this is for 2 years and hopefully will be ongoing. I would respectfully request that the board approve this cooperative agreement.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Questions?
It's wonderful that we got some extra dollars for this thing. I know
Very
that
nice.
all counties, if they've gone into sort of a drug court situation, a lot of people do in-kind work, and there's a lack of funding for it, even though it's one of the most successful programs, according to everything I've read.
And what we've seen in through the 5th Judicial District, they have recognized that Blue Earth County has made significant in-kind and significant levy contributions. And I think as a result, when the contract first came, it had the same amount as 2 years ago, and I made that plea for an increase based on what our contributions were. And really with that dollar amount was looking at covering about one of our FTEs, as we provide 2 probation officers in there, and they were, it didn't take them very long to come back to match what the request was.
Nice. Very nice.
Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
All right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Okay.
Mr. Chair, would you like to do a couple more administrative items?
Human Resources, that the next one?
Sure. Item number 3 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We just have informational items this morning. We did receive a resignation of a mental health professional in the Human Services Department, so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We filled a number of positions, including a senior account clerk in the Human Services Department, a temporary probation officer position in community corrections, and then we filled a part-time library clerk at the library. Then in the county attorney's office, part of our union contract there, we had a promotion of an assistant county attorney from the ACA 1 level to the ACA 2 level. And then lastly, a social worker in the Human Services Department has completed their probationary period and are eligible for the contractual salary adjustment there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Any questions?
Sounds good.
Informational, okay. We got time for...
Next up is item number 4 in your packet, which is the Advanced Correctional Healthcare contract. This is a renewal contract for medical services in the jail. The jail administrator has negotiated a 3.9% increase in the services provided per the Consumer Price Index for medical care. This increases the rate of the contract to $208,877.55. So we're recommending approval of the contract with ACH.
I'll move approval.
Been moved. Second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Drew?
I just know we're working on some issues regarding working with that Yellow Line project, and they also are somewhat contracted for helping with some of those issues as far as once people are in the jail. Is there any crossover there at all where they work together on any issues, Bob, that maybe creates a new dynamic, that positive, negative, I don't know, I'm just wondering, what that might be.
Sure, there is dialogue going on in terms of the potential of having a social worker in the jail. We talked about that at the work session last week, and if that position were authorized by the county board, there might be an adjustment to the mental health end of the services under this contract.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. No further. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. I think, are we close enough to
Maybe we can just quickly do this
another one?
gambling permit.
one gambling permit? I was gonna add that at the end.
The new one?
No.
No, there's another one.
No, this is the one, item number 5 in your packet.
Okay.
So this is an application to conduct off-site gambling by the Mankato Area Hockey Association. This is an event that they have scheduled in mid-August out at the Indian Island Winery, and so recommending approval of this permit.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. You're all in favor of that? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Okay. All right. Now we're about ready, I suppose, for planning and zoning. We have George and
Garrett.
here.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Go ahead, George.
PC 09-17 is a request from Jones Farms LLC for review and approval of a conditional use permit to expand an existing total confinement swine finishing operation. The existing site had one total confinement finishing barn capable of housing 2,400 finishing pigs. The expansion will include the construction of one additional total confinement finishing barn, also capable of housing 2,400 finishing pigs. Site is zoned agricultural and is located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 26, Butternut Valley Township. Mr. Rolfing presented the staff report. Staff was asked whether or not the site had any issues with the required buffer strip. Mr. Stubbs stated that the county's records did not indicate there were any violations on this property. The applicant was present and had no additional comment. There was no public comment. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the request as outlined by staff. The board action is the resolution.
All right. At this point, we have open to public comment. All right. Anybody wishing to make comments on PC 09-17, please come forward, state your name and address. Again, if anybody wishes to speak on 09-17, again for the third time, if anyone wishes to speak on PC 09-17. Okay, hearing no comment from the public, we'll bring it back to the board.
I move
The
approval.
resolution has been moved and second. Discussion, questions?
Just have a couple
Drew?
quick ones, hopefully. I was just curious, when I did see that one comment, they were asked the question about this buffer strip thing, violations or whatever. I haven't heard that really asked before regarding a hog barn. I was just wondering what's that about? Just curious.
The reason that probably was brought up, Commissioner, is because of the open tile ditch to the south. I believe it's an open tile ditch. I just remember seeing the map.
Okay.
Yeah, that is an open tile ditch, and so that would have brought that question up.
Oh, okay. And then, I know most of these a lot of them are routine, but I just want to ask the questions. It always talks about, you have basically it's a manure management plan, and that application, does that go into the MPCA, or does that come to the county? I'm just not really
For
on
this
board.
permit, this is will be a state permitted site, so through the MPCA, the manure management plan is part of an application for the NPDES permit through the MPCA. So that manure management plan must be submitted to the MPCA.
And then, other than just submitting it then, does the county require that it's approved? In other words, the manure management plan receives approval for how they're going to spread their manure in the locations that are identified on their map. Do we look at that map, or is it just the MPCA?
I don't know if we do for state sites. In order for the application to be complete through the MPCA, they review that manure management plan if there's anything.
Then they get a hold of you here at the county if there's an issue? Or?
If there's an issue, the application will be incomplete, and the landowner.
Then it's not accepted then by the MPCA?
Correct.
And then you're notified probably?
Yeah,
I know it's just routine, but I just wonder, what if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go? What if they don't have the land identified enough for as many hogs as they've got proposed here?
Right. If they don't have enough land, or if something happened with manure management plan, MPCA would deny the application, and they would not be permitted, and we would get a letter that says
They have to rework the plan then or something and
Find more
resubmit it,
acres.
or before they can operate their expansion.
Isn't it true that
Vance?
a lot of the hog confinement places actually sell off their manure.
Yep, a lot of them
So they
transfer it.
not only, they don't need land themselves to
Right.
operate it, but they actually tank it up and ship it to other farmers that purchase their manure for fertilizer. So it's not so much that a farm needs, so many acres itself. What they do is, they need to, in their plan, they would have to place that we are going to be selling this manure off. And that's big business nowadays.
Correct.
For good stuff, right?
Very good stuff.
Yep.
Or a word like that. Oh, so they still have to review that then, even,
Correct.
I'm assuming. Because, with the water quality issues that we all talk about, you always, that's why I asked that question. I just wonder where all this stuff is going, and if it's in our county, it could be another county. I suppose they would just as soon sell it to somebody nearby so they can, the shipping costs alone could be, offset. I don't know.
It does become a matter of economics and how far it's going to be transported to in the field that needs the manure. And regardless of who applies the manure to their own fields, each site has to maintain the county required manure application setbacks. Our application setbacks are somewhat more restrictive than the state's. And so if it is applied in Blue Earth County, they would have to abide by the
Standards.
required setbacks, yes.
Okay, thanks, George. Yeah.
All right. Hearing no further questions, discussion. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, now we have the next one. PC 10-17.
PC 10-17 is a request from G&A Wendinger Farms LLC for review and approval of a conditional use permit to expand an existing total confinement swine finishing operation. The existing site has one total confinement finishing barn capable of housing 2,400 finishing pigs. The expansion will include the construction of one additional total confinement finishing barn capable of housing 3,300 finishing pigs. The site is zoned agricultural and is located in the southeast quarter of Section 17, Lincoln Township. Mr. Rolfing presented the staff report. The applicant was present and had no additional comment. A neighboring resident provided his concern with the proposal, indicating the proposal would increase unpleasant odors from the on-site composting structure. The applicant stated he would place swing doors on the composting structure to block the view and help reduce odor. He also stated he is not the one who constructed that structure, but is willing to make improvements that should benefit his neighbors. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the request as outlined by staff. The board action is the resolution.
All right, thank you. Well, at this time then, we'll open it up to public comments. Anybody wishing to speak on PC 10-17, please come forward. Again, if anybody wishes to speak on PC 10-17, please come forward for comments. And for the third time and last, anybody wishing to speak on anything with PC 10-17, please come forward. All right. Hearing none, we'll bring it back then to the board for resolution.
Move approval.
It's been moved by Will.
Second.
Seconded by Kip. Any discussion, questions?
I just had one relating to that compost thing, since the neighbor brought it up. Can you explain that in detail a little bit more, just what that's about?
So the compost structure that is there right now, the opening, they face the road, the bunkers face the road. And there was question that if there was maybe not enough capacity for the mortalities that are coming in. As of right now, there is another facility down the road, about a mile down the road, that brings mortalities to this composting site. Now that this new barn is being built, that will no longer be taking place. The ones from down the road will no longer be coming in. The neighbor just had some concerns about the odor from that,
Yeah.
how it was being managed, and the applicant got up and spoke, was willing to possibly put some swing doors on there, something to help the odor.
Okay.
Lyle encouraged the neighbor to talk to the operator. The operator seemed open to some different ideas. I think his biggest concern was the fact that someone else was bringing hogs there, and that
Yeah.
just rubbed them the wrong way. So with this new operation, as Garrett mentioned, there won't be any more of that going on.
Okay.
And he did agree to do some improvements and
Then could I
seemed to
ask,
be okay with it.
who is the operator of this? Do you know? The operator?
That's G&A Wendinger Farms.
It is.
Yes, but another outfit has the pigs that will be in the barn. But G&A Wendinger Farms owns that site.
Oh, okay.
And
So
runs it,
there-
yeah.
so he doesn't own the pigs, he's just managing.
Right, yeah. Now he might have somebody else that's coming in and do the chores, but G&A Wendinger Farms is the owner of the site.
Okay.
And the source of the pigs, as with most other sites, is coming from another location and other ownership.
Mhm.
One other comment on the composting, and that is that if there is an order coming from the composting site, it's possible that there's some practices or procedures that are not being properly followed with composting. They will have an odor, but it should not be a strong offensive odor. If it has the smell of dead pig carcasses, it's maybe too dry or not enough of the carbon source, which is to cover up the pigs. So those are some things we can talk to the operator about, the owner and operator about.
Good.
Here. All right, any further questions? Okay, we have the motion before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I guess we can, I guess we could. We are ready for Public Works.
Wow.
And Ryan is here. He's been waiting in the wings.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning, Ryan.
Good.
A little bit here to go over.
Yes, indeed. Very busy the last couple of weeks since we've last spoken.
Including that time.
All right. The first order of business is consideration of award for State Project 007070003, which is our 2017 Highway Safety Improvement Program project. So this includes a bevy of shoulder widening and safety enhancements per the county safety plan. This is utilizing 90% federal funding to pay for the work, along with a 10% local match. So they have a set-aside program for the HSIP money, and we put in a successful grant application for it, received the 90% match. We received 3 bids. All were over the engineer's estimate. These kinds of projects are relatively hard to estimate, given the fact that they're minor quantities, they're scattered throughout the county, and they're kind of inefficient work. So all in all, having them come in, the low bidder was R&E Enterprises at $720,000. Second was Southern Minnesota Construction at $760,000, and third was Central Specialties at $841,000. So way off, but they're out of Alexandria, so they have quite a bit of mobilization in. The engineer's estimate was $655,000, so a little bit of a difference. We did receive approval from state aid to award based on the low bid, and then did receive notification that they would indeed fund the excess overage at the 90% match. So with that being said, I think given the season, it's justifiable to award to R&E Enterprises.
All right.
Move to
Motion. Been moved.
Second?
Been moved second. Any questions, discussions?
It's rather sad, you know, when we see all our construction bids coming so much lower than the estimate, and we see this above, but I imagine that's the type of game we're playing with.
Absolutely, and again, the scope of this is not a big project where they can work on it all. They're doing 2-foot shoulder widening and rumble stripes or things like that, so it's scattered throughout the county, so tough to get a beat on it, and we've had a very good run, so this one overrunning by a little bit, I'm more than willing to continue forward, given the savings that we've had earlier in the season.
Those double line painted lines, are those the ones in the middle of the road?
Correct.
Oh, okay, and then the broken line one, what does that mean? Or is-
Broken line is your center line where you're within a
Every
passing
so
zone.
often, like this,
Yep.
in the
Yep.
center, that's still center. And then solid line paint is the one that, the fog line on the right side of the road?
Solid line, yes, could
I'm
be,
assuming it could be.
solid line could be shoulder or depending on the color, white or yellow, obviously.
Oh, okay. I was just curious, I noticed it's still, they're all 6 inches, that's what we mostly use. But I've been reading lately that some counties and even cities are going to an 8-inch line. And I was just wondering if we've ever considered that.
6 is the recommended.
Is it?
Safety enhancement. 4 is generally the standard.
Okay.
So 6 is an enhancement from the standard 4-inch
Right.
stripe.
I mean, is there any consideration ever going to an 8-inch line or not here?
We haven't really talked about it again because our highway safety improvement plan that was put together by
Yeah,
state
years
aid.
ago.
The enhanced striping considered is a 6-inch stripe, and that's what they'll pay for with these federal funds.
I see, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's
That makes
really
sense.
important with those stripes now is cars are being made to notice those stripes.
Mhm.
And actually the 2017s and newer cars coming out, they actually have if
Lane
you get
detection.
a lane
Lane assist, whatever they
assistance
have.
Yep.
where it'll pop you back if it sees that stripe. So those stripes are even more important now than they used to be, and they always were important. And but they're even more important now with the lane assistance on the newer vehicles. So obviously we're not going to be putting stripes on our gravel roads, but I would the stripes on the paved roads, when we have a lot of paved roads in Blue Earth County,
We do.
are very, very important.
Yep. So we have our annual striping contract. We have up the quantity of that over the past few years, and I know with Commissioner Campbell's recommendations, we're looking at perhaps the first round, putting a tighter completion deadline on that to the contractor that we get so that the work could be done prior to Memorial Day weekend,
Oh.
ideally. Now that is weather dependent. We do like to have nice warm temperatures because the paint does cure better and bond better to the pavement. We don't want to have dirty, wet pavement. So you've got to use some discretion with that. And then we're also looking at our specifications for how the glass beads are applied, whether they're mixed in with the paint or whether they're applied after the fact, and maybe going to the newest specification of that versus the way we've done it in past years. So we're evaluating some of those items just to see if we can make minor revisions to have a better product that'll wear a little bit longer. But our snow plows and sanding operations do grind and wear those pavement markings down every year, and
I know.
it's a struggle to keep up with it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Do we have a motion?
Yep. Got a motion.
I mean, we have a motion, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Okay.
Copy of the contracts for board chair execution. The next order of business is consideration of the Eagle Lake Public Water Access bids. As you recall, we received a $150,000 DNR grant for this work. So we've actually put the plan set together, coordinated with the Department of Natural Resources, gotten their blessing on the design, and sent out advertisement for bids. We opened recently and received quite a few bids. The engineer's estimate grand total, find it here. The engineer's estimate was $144,541. We received bid from Reinhold Excavating as the apparent low bidder at $145,836. Bornicke Construction, $151,000. Dirt Merchant at $158,000. Wendell Lorentz, $163,000. Ram Excavating, $196,000. And Pembroke Companies at $212,000. So the low bid is within $1,000 of our engineer's estimate. The prices seem to be in line. Again, this is relatively small quantity for the scope of work. It's a little parking lot and boat access on the north side of Eagle Lake off of our county stated Highway 26. So with that being said, I would recommend award of this contract to Reynolds Excavating.
All right, it's been moved by Kip, second Vance. Any discussion, questions?
I was just curious, when you see on here the sediment control log type wood fiber, is that just during construction? Is that's for?
Erosion and sediment control.
That's all for.
During and after construction till the grass is established.
Okay.
Yep, it's a check to stop the water, allow the, catch some of the
Yeah,
solids, allow them to
yeah.
settle out before they run off.
Makes sense.
All right, any other? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
All right, contracts for that as well. Thank you. Third item of business is resolution authorizing execution of sub-grant agreement. This authorizes the county engineer to enter into grant agreement with the Homeland Security Emergency Management Department. This is for the grant application for the acquisition and demolition of Mr. Johnson's property out on River Park Drive, where the Le Sueur River has severely undermined his home. We have the grant application ready to submit. I think we're a very good candidate for it, and I think I've even verbally been told that we have a very high likelihood of success. There are now DNR matching funds available as well, that for the time being, after we get the HSEM grant, we could apply for the DNR grant to cover half of the homeowner's cost. So the HSEM grant application would cover 75% of the total project cost. We could apply for the DNR funds to cover 12.5%. The homeowner would be responsible for the remainder. So it's all contingent on receiving those monies, but it's definitely a needed project.
Move to approve. And moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last action item is review and consideration of the Road and Bridge and Parks annual reports. This year, I think talking with Mr. Meyer, we discussed instead of bringing you paper copies, to include them in your board packet so that you have a digital file and they're readily accessible. Try to save a few trees. I will go through them relatively quickly, just kind of pointing out highlights. Which order are they in your packet?
This
This is the
Part of
Public
the
Works
Public
annual
Works.
report.
Public Works first? Okay, I'll start with that one then. So on page 1 of the Public Works report, you'll see the summary of Blue Earth County Highway Department. This is a summarization of our county stated highway regular mileage, our municipal mileage, county road mileage, construction funding as well. Moving on to page 2, a brief of activities, comments, and recommendations. This is a summarization of the work that we completed this year from a construction standpoint. So all the projects, the grand totals are summarized, and then they're detailed later in the report. Page 2B is a summary of the major work items accomplished in 2016. Road construction projects, bridge construction projects, bituminous overlays, planning, Rapidan Dam maintenance operations, office management and accounting, and as well as a cost summary of all those work. If you'd like me to go into greater detail, I'd be more than happy to, so please just let me know if that is the case. If not, I'll keep moving ahead. Following that, on page 2D is a map of our projects from 2016. I believe a lot of this information has been provided in the past. There's a tremendous amount of information in these reports, so I'm just trying to highlight some of the content that's in there for you. Page 5 is a summarization of the townships and how much of the town road allotment was distributed to each township in said year. Page 6 is a summary of inventory, materials, and supplies. I still find it amazing that we have $1 million worth of inventory just in fuel, rock, parts for equipment, you name it, tires, blades. Very expensive operation that we're running, but a large amount of infrastructure that we're managing as well. And then there's...
Can I just ask you one quick
Yeah.
question? On that township one on page 5.
Yep.
Those funds, when it says distribution allotment,
That's based on the highway user tax distribution fund split out, and then each of the townships certifies its mileage, and this is
okay.
what they get off of
To
that.
help.
This is not their, if they have individual property taxes, this
Okay.
does not summarize
it's
that.
just, okay.
This is
okay.
just from the highway user tax distribution.
All right, I got you, thank you.
From there, we go into fixed asset reports for all of our equipment. I'm not going to bore you with the details there. Land and buildings reports, summarization of expenditures, and we're going to jump all the way to page 18, where we have a summary of the construction costs for our county state aid highway regular program. is detailed. And then following that, pages 18A through 19A1 are actual individual for each road segment or each project, detailed breakouts of what our costs were for contract payments, construction engineering, project engineering, right-of-way, utilities, you name it. Page 20, summary of construction costs for our county roads and township roads. And again, those are summarized for each individual project on those detailed pages, so all of the information is there. We have a Public Works Infrastructure Report, which is valuation of each individual facility and piece of infrastructure that we own from our roads and bridges. From there, I'm going to go to page 24, which is our 2016 source of funds. I always find this...
Some of these aren't easy to keep up on with your numbering system, so.
I'm sorry, I'll slow down a little bit.
Just so you know, just so you know.
Okay.
I mean, it's...
And they're different from what's in your
Because you
packet.
have, you know, they don't go 18, 19, 20, they go 18A,
Yes.
1, 18A, you know, so.
Yes.
So just so you know, it's we're trying to keep up with you.
All right,
here.
I'll slow down.
All right.
Yeah, we're, no comment on that.
All right. Page 24 found?
Got it.
All right. Page 24, 2016 source of funds. We have the breakdown of the federal state aid maintenance, regular and municipal state aid construction, township bridge, bridge bond turnbacks, and local road improvement money, local road and bridge funding, other grants and construction reimbursement, and miscellaneous receipts. So I find the graphics are the easiest to digest and interpret.
You bet.
The second page is another interesting visual aid in breaking down our expenses. When you look at our operation as a whole, 1% of our budget goes towards administrative costs. 71% goes into construction and 28% goes into those maintenance of equipment and infrastructure. So it all goes back out onto the highway. What comes through is very lean from an operation standpoint, and the rest goes directly back into our infrastructure. Page 27
Got it.
is summarization of our 2006 to 2016 expenditures. I found this very interesting, that 2016 was our biggest year in the last decade. And seems like that'll be the tip of the iceberg now with the sales tax funding and then the turnback projects that are coming in the pipeline. So we'll have some very large years ahead of us, which the addition of the new engineering staff member and the additional driver will definitely help us out. Second to 2007, which I was not here yet, but 2011, I remember that year. That was a very hectic year. The next page, 28, funding trends. You'll notice a tremendous spike between 2015 and 2016. That's in part due to the state portion is the turnback money we received for Trunk Highway 66, County State Highway 1 now. And the local, as you see, has spiked quite a bit as well because of the local option sales tax. And that's it for my summary of the road and bridge report. I don't know if you'd like to act on that one individually or consider both together.
I'll move approval of the road and bridge.
Okay,
Second.
been seconded and moved for the road bridge report to accept. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank
We
you.
will move into the parks report. And these, I apologize, are not all numbered sequentially until you get to the actual financials. So I'll start in on what should be about the second or third page, which is the summary of major work. And just a blip from that, there were a total of 7,361 mobile and tent camping nights during the 2016 camping season. This was a decrease of 121 camping nights over the previous year. Revenue was collected at Bray Park, Daly Park, Duck Lake Park, Rapidan Park, and Williams Nature Center totaled $161,709.44, which was an increase of $3,464.25, which was in part due to an increase in camping reservations, shelter reservations, boat rentals, and wood sale revenues. The camping reservation system at Daly and Bray Park was well received, with 2,562 reservations being made, which was an increase of 106 over the previous year. So the public is embracing our online reservation system and the ease that it offers. The next page, park system improvements. The Duck Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water Assessment was paid in 2016. The park received a bituminous overlay along with striping, and the restroom facility was restained. Daly Park received a new fish cleaning shack and a new well in area number 4, and removal of the old caretaker garage. And then, as you're fully aware, the acquisition of the Red Jacket Valley Park. With that being said, I will move on to page 6 of the report, which is the 2016 changes in budgeted and actual cash balance. Summarization. The subsequent page is graphics depicting the 2016 cash revenues and the 2016 cash expenditures. Relatively well distributed between equipment operations, construction, and maintenance operations, almost nearly 25% in every quadrant. To page 9, summarization of revenues in bar charts. The top one is the camping and reservation revenues. You can see it's a slight increase, however, all in all, it's a very steady stream, so it's consistent, so I found that reassuring. We get into cash revenues, summarizations, year-end cash expenditure summarization, and I'm going to jump quite a few pages here.
Just before you move on
Yes.
there, Ryan, so the first chart there is the total sales.
That's for
just the
camping and reservation
so
revenue, and then the next one is boat rental.
Yeah, so 135,000
Correct.
in that area?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Page 29 provides summarization as well as annual history of the caretaker's income for Bray Park, Daly Park, Duck Lake, and Rapidan Parks. That provides that data from 2009 through 2016. Page 31, comparison of camping participation by week for Bray, Daly, and Rapidan Park. So that provides the number of campsites that are utilized in each period, so you can kind of see when we peak. And then we actually have it broken down by days following that for Bray Park, as well as some additional campground and participation data.
It's interesting that August seems to be the most used.
One would think July, but I suppose with the heat it's restrictive and the city celebrations and such going on.
Well, yeah, but August would be, to me, be a hot month also.
Yep, that it is.
Just a quick question then too.
Yep.
For clarification, on the caretaker's income, it's very, very small amount of money.
Correct.
They're like an independent contractor.
Correct.
They're not an employee of the
Correct.
county.
They're offered, in addition to the income, that it's a share of the camping reservations, it's a share of the wood sales, boat rentals, the revenue that's generated at the parks. In addition to that, obviously they're provided with a living facility for the course of that contract year. So we have the homes at Duck, Bray, and Daly, where the caretakers reside. They do, I think, all the utility costs, with the exception of the heat in the winter, is paid by the county. The caretakers have to pay for their own heat.
Oh, okay.
So that's part of the contract. So there is additional benefit to them having that contract. However, it is challenging for them because they are required to be on premise. One person has to be on premise nearly all of the time while the park is in operation.
Yeah.
So a husband and wife, if one wants to go to church, they have to go individually and kind of split shifts on when they can run and get groceries, unless it's a rainy, drizzling day, and then they can maybe take off for a couple of hours. But
So how's that working out? I just was wondering how.
our caretakers are doing a really great job.
Yeah. I mean,
Indeed,
it's
we're very
working out
happy
okay.
with the staff that we have and the work that they do.
And they seem happy that they're out there too.
Indeed, I think they take
I mean, the caretakers I've talked to are happy with
Yeah.
the employment, so I think it works good for both the county and for them, so it's a
I know there has been...
plus plus.
Yeah, absolutely. There has been concern expressed by the caretakers of Bray that perhaps it'd be ideal to add additional campsites to increase the revenue with that, and that's something we've talked about, and as we get maybe some free time, we could explore some options and what the cost would be to add additional campsites and what the return on investment would be at some, when we break even off of it.
Oh, I see.
So that's something that I've got on the back burner list of work items for our staff after our construction
Okay.
season comes to an end.
So when you say how much money we've taken in for camping fees, technically they're getting a chunk of that.
Correct.
And we just get a chunk of that.
They get that reservation fee that we talked about, which I believe was the $5 per reservation.
They just get that, they don't get a percentage of the other.
Correct, I believe so.
You see that in the bills.
Yep.
Yeah, just wondering, because it's an unusual arrangement, I didn't know, you know, I mean, when I, first few years I was here, I just assumed that they were considered Blue Earth County employees, you know, they had some benefits, or they
Nope.
had some,
Yep.
but they gotta do it all on their own.
Correct, there's a contract and, out of Daily where it's such a task to keep up with some of the maintenance of the trees and the mowing. We do go out and assist because a lot of times they have contracted number of hours that are their minimum number of hours they're required to work in the course of a week. And sometimes they just aren't able to keep up, and we do go out and assist with some of that work.
Oh, good.
Yep. Okay, any other questions on that
Just
matter?
that you'd let us know, or I'm sure through the committees, or through one of us or somebody, that if it's not working out, because I know we did, I don't know, I didn't ask what the reasons were they were, but we did lose a caretaker out there at Bray. Last year, they moved away, I believe, and so I don't know if it was, they were going on to something bigger and better, but, you know, we got.
It's a lot of work out there too, and a lot of these folks are semi-retirees, so that might play into it as well, perhaps not wanting to do that amount of work anymore. It's hard to say, other personal matters.
The folks that left Bray,
Yeah.
it wasn't because they were upset with the work. They went on to do something else. I think they got an opportunity to move someplace and they
Okay.
took it.
Okay. All right. Page 44 is a summarization of our 2016 capital outlay and construction projects completed. Includes purchase of a Bobcat skid steer loader, angled broom, Turfmaster mower, trimmers, trimmer hedge clippers, just some of the equipment that we purchased, kayaks, the new well at Daly Park, the sewer assessment payoff that was forwarded from administration and the board from 2016 so that we could forego the future assessment payments, and the Red Jacket Valley Park land purchase.
So the main, of course, those last two cover
Big items.
95% of the whole thing.
Correct.
So, so when you're really considering, and those are, I'm not saying that they aren't part of the billing, because they obviously are, but I think you really need to take those two off and to see what our actual cost is.
Correct. And then to keep in mind too that the Red Jacket Valley Park land purchase, we did receive after 2016 the $100,000 from the DNR, and we also received the city's share of the half minus their down payment that they put on the property.
Right.
So
there's a lot.
significantly reduced.
Yeah.
It's a quarter of that, probably.
About thereabout, yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. So that's really it for the Parks report, unless there are any other questions.
Anybody have any other questions?
This is good. Move to approve.
Yep. It's been moved. Second to accept?
Second.
There's second. All right. Drew, any other questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The informational items, the construction projects update. It's been a very hectic but very good week. County State Aid Highway 12, we received the Army Corps of Engineers permit late Friday afternoon, so just in time. I do have to provide a thank you to some of our state aid counterparts at MnDOT Central Office, because they helped me lean pretty heavily on the Corps to get the permit out the door. It was a very challenging process, but we did get it just in the nick of time. So we're actually working on the mitigation credits at this point, and the contractor intends to close the road this Thursday. There are portable changeable message boards up on Highway 83 in advance of the intersection. They'll close 12 and 83, as well as the segment of Carver or the future
Well, I
County Road
thought
12
that was supposed to
alignment.
close yesterday.
That was not correct in the local media, I don't believe. The MnDOT had we had coordinated a press release, and they had sent one out the previous week that had stated it'll be closing the week of the 17th.
Yeah. They didn't say the 17th, I think. I read
Correct.
that, yeah.
I don't believe they may have misinterpreted that or not fully read it through. So we did issue a press release yesterday as well that it stated Thursday the 20th. So again, just to recap the work that we'll be doing this year, it'll be the roundabout at Highway 83 and 12. We anticipate having that completed sometime in September, getting that back open to traffic. In parallel, we'll also work on the segment of 12 from 83 to the north through the Hoffman roundabout, constructing that, going slightly farther northeast, tying into Carver Road, where Carver will turn and come in tangent to County Road 12. So we'll make that connection to Carver this year, ideally. And then we'll also build that segment of Hoffman from the 12 and Hoffman roundabout to the west, connect to the pavement just on the east side of the existing Prairie Winds roundabout. In addition to that, the contractor should have the actual clay grade put up from the segment that runs on the new alignment from the Carver Road intersection to the northeast to tie into County Road 17 at the 12 and 17 roundabout. They'll come back the following year, put in the final grading, curb and gutter, gravel base, pavement, things like that, and ideally have that open before school resumes next year in 2018. County State Highway 14 work is underway. It's progressing. It has been hampered by early season rainfall. It just seems like every time they get to a critical point, it rains and drowns them out, but we're hoping for a change in weather. They are putting in the requisite hours out there, so we'll just see. There's a lot of season left yet with the end of July here, August, September being very good grading months. Bituminous overlays, the original small contract was completed. We went with a pretty conservative contract, just knowing we had a very large volume of work to put out there. Seeing the bids come in as low as they did, we decided to advertise County State Highway 31 and 42 for an August 9th bid letting, utilizing some of the remaining funding that we had from the underruns on those other contracts, County State Highway 14, 109, and 12. So we'll be putting some more miles of bituminous maintenance overlays out on the road this summer yet. Rapidan Dam, the repair contract, as you know, is on hold given the river flows. Excuse me. There is also, for your information, an annual Federal Energy Regulatory Committee inspection and meeting on August 1st. So if anybody's really interested in the dam, you're more than welcome to attend, but we'll have our staff there.
It's a question on the dam.
Yes.
So what happens if they can't get to it this year?
We would...
Do we have to renegotiate the contract? Because obviously costs are going to increase year after year. So if they can't get to it because of water flow this year, what happens?
If they can't get to a water flow this year, we would have to execute a supplemental agreement to extend the contract completion date. If they were able to validate additional costs that they had incurred above and beyond their bid prices, we could prorate and do a contract amendment to justify those costs. They'd have to have a basis of why, but that would be a negotiated item. We have them under contract, and we took our best shot at it, allowing an adequate time frame for completion. But
well, yeah, and you can't, you know, nature is nature, and that's the way things go. But we have a contract that's basically being paid for with a grant from the state capital, or from the state.
Yep.
Do we make up the, like, if there's more cost, does the county have to pay in for that?
Yep.
Or can we get more from the state?
The grant is capped at $2.4 million.
Yep.
The contract right now is at about 1.2 to 1.3 with some of the issues we ran into when we were out there doing
so we got a pretty good leeway.
Yeah, and in fact, we're evaluating how we can stabilize the left or west retaining wall adjacent to the powerhouse, utilizing the remainder of the balance of the DNR dollars from that grant.
Okay.
So they're actually working on a conceptual design right now. We had cut some cores in the top of the concrete of the retaining wall and made some determinations and probings on what the soundness is of the rock that's below it. We found it's actually in fairly good condition, so we believe we can do more of a shallow tied back, just new concrete face over the top and front to rehabilitate it. So that'll have to go through all the appropriate channels. It'll have to go through the FERC. We'll have to work with the dam operator, Eagle Creek Renewable Energy, and our consultant, Kleinschmidt Engineering, who worked on the project and has been working with the FDRC.
Thank you.
County State Highway 1, Old Minnesota Highway 66, ditch grading turf establishment was completed from Good Thunder to 9. We will place the final lift of bituminous in a future year, so it's good to have that one put to bed. County State Highway 60, Stadium Road Hill. As you recall, that was a joint project with the city of Mankato. That was open to traffic on July 10th. They did a great job, looks fantastic, and nice to see it reopen to traffic in advance of Vikings training camp coming to town.
Just in time.
Indeed. Planning projects update. County State Highway 5 bridge numbers 07526, 7239, and 7240. Blue Earth County received $358,000, which is 50% of funding for eligible bridge costs. So we're currently working on updating the plans and specifications to the current specification year. They were designed under an old specification, so you have to update some reference information in the plan set. We're working on that, and we would anticipate a fall bid letting to get the work under contract. The work could be completed late this fall yet. Given the scope that we're going to be utilizing the existing abutments and basically redecking the bridges, we could even consider doing them as a winter contract. So we're going to offer the contractor some flexibility in that work, or it could be done early next spring as well. So we're going to offer some alternatives while trying to minimize the impact to the quarries out on that road.
So it's number 5. These are the 3 bridges you've always been talking about the last
Correct.
2 years out on number 5.
Yep, so we finally got some state bridge bond funding, albeit not the 80% that was anticipated. It's 50% match, but at this point I hate to hold off any longer on them. In addition to those bridges, we received money for County State Highway 52, bridge number 07501. We will be receiving about $204,000, which is 50% of the funding for the eligible bridge costs. Again, updating plans and specifications to the current year. We anticipate winter or spring bid to get the work under contract for 2018 construction. We're working with SRF Consultants on the design of County State Aid Highway 1 for 9 to Mankato. That segment is at about 90% completion. Along the north segment, we're working on some of the more very details and specifics of access and staging during construction. So once we get that nailed down, I hope to bring that to you for an informational item at a future work session. We've also been meeting with the highly impacted landowners, kind of talking to them, understanding what their concerns are, what their challenges are, so that we can incorporate any of that into the design. Developing the right-of-way plat and beginning the appraisal process. So Jack will be contacting the landowners for the right-of-way acquisition here fairly soon. So far the meetings have gone well. I think having myself and even Stefan involved with those meetings with Jack right out of the gate has helped, so that the landowners are a little bit more comfortable with the process. In addition to that, we've continued to work with the homeowners that are located directly south of County Road 90, and actually as an update, they believe they found somebody that is willing to move their house for them. So we're going to pursue that alternative. We've talked with the state, and they believe, from everything we understand, it should be a viable alternative where they would be compensated for moving their house back about 40 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a specialized house mover that is willing to tackle it, and we expressed our concern over potential damages to the home, and they're going to make sure that they have a very airtight insurance policy that covers any kind of loss or damages. But I think that's best scenario, that they do that for long term.
That'd be awesome.
Where are they out of?
Spencer House Movers, actually out of the Blue Earth area.
Oh,
They
they do a lot of work around here.
Absolutely. So
They moved my house back
Did
in
they?
the
Are you
70s.
serious?
Yeah.
That was an old house too, right?
No, that was a new house.
I'm assuming they're just going to build some kind of a track after they build the new basement, and they'll roll it.
I believe that's indeed the...
Probably.
Because you're talking about 40
Like a train track. They'll probably roll it right over there.
Yep.
Permanently have it encased right there. They won't drop it or anything. They'll just roll it right in place. But yeah, I was just curious too. You went over the bridges real quick. Just back up just a second. That number 41 bridge. How's
We have about $1 million in the State Transportation Improvement Plan for 2020 for that bridge. So that's where we currently have it penciled in for replacement.
okay.
We have met with Mrs. Javens, who's the landowner there, and they operate the winery and own
Yeah.
the family winery there. And worked with them on variance request, because it
Okay.
would actually reduce their acreage below the county, and then the township's adopted threshold for acreage for farm winery. So we're gonna submit that to the township on their behalf to get the variance. And
Okay,
conversations with the township have led us to believe there's no
thanks a
issues
lot.
with it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything, just.
Yep. Nope. Okay. Where was I here? Bridges. So working on the design of one from 9 to Mankato seems to be all coming together. It's going to be a very large, complex project. The reinforced soil slope walls are very large, very massive, a very big undertaking. And then in combination with the poor soils we found in other areas, it's going to be a very large scale project. But as I've explained it to the homeowners, it's something we've got to be comfortable living with for the foreseeable future. You know, the next 50, we want to build something that we're going to be happy with the next 50 to 60 years.
At least in your lifetime.
At least in my
Your
career.
legacy. No, but I'm just curious, too, that neighborhood just north of that house, or is it north, what is that, west? I think it's west, isn't it, towards
The
the
one on
river?
the bottom of the hill?
Yeah, you know, the one that's gonna move
Oh,
on 66.
yep, south of County Road 90,
Those people up there, there's maybe 5, 6 houses.
on top of the hill.
We're concerned about safety there, you know, coming out of their house.
Yep.
But now that road can be moved over a little bit.
The road is, right now, the alignment that we have selected, the alignment moves 10 feet to the east. So that, in addition to building wider shoulders, should certainly offer them a better opportunity.
Access in and out, because they were having some troubles there, it was pretty tight.
Yes.
They're almost coming downhill still.
And you know, we're not gonna go past the right of way necessarily unless we absolutely have to. So that road up the hill, we aren't necessarily gonna chase that, but at least the approach,
It'd be longer.
yeah, there should be a better flat spot for them to sit and find that gap in traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The other item, County Stated Highway 90 and Minnesota Trunk Highway 22 roundabout. For your information, there's the first open house will be held from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Terrace View Golf Course. And
What date?
my date fell off of there, I'm sorry. Early August.
Don't notice that. Oh, that's nice. What day is it?
I had it on there at one point in time, and let me look briefly, I apologize for that.
We know the time.
Indeed. That will be August 3rd. I apologize for that. I'm still on on schedule for 2018 construction. Item E, we're working on our capital improvement plan. We're probably at about 75% completion. Hopeful to bring it forward at a future board work session for discussion, and we are seeking input for any additional candidate projects that you may think are worthy. So if you do have those candidates and would like to discuss them, please feel free to reach out to me. And then others, I don't have any, but I thought I'd just open it up to you if you have any other questions or comments.
Anybody have any?
No news is good news.
Very thorough.
Yeah.
Good job.
Real thorough.
Are you reaching out to the Blue Earth County Historical Society all about going back to 66, that one little marker that's there for the Hillier, Fort LaHillier? It's kind of a historical, how that's going to be
Goal is to
handled.
stay out of that and not disturb it.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
if we can. If not, we'll have to coordinate with them though.
Oh, okay.
Then just briefly, park updates. Electrical issues in Daly and Bray. I know a couple of you may be aware of this, that we have received complaints about weak voltage and constant tripping of the circuit breakers at some of the campsites. The original system was built for smaller trailers and pop-up campers and tent sites, not large
Imagine it's
RVs
probably
or
some of the
something.
50 amp services.
That's exactly it, and a lot of times, I know in my past experience being on a campground board for 6 years, we had issues where the 50 amp RVs would actually come and they'd put the jumper, we call it a dog bone, but it plugs into 2 receptacles and then it converts it to 1. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get 50 amps out of 2, but you really don't have the capacity in the wire leading up to it, so we'd actually see those burn out at the head of the unit or underground. The wires would actually burn up. So we're working with an electrician to get a scope of costs and an implementation plan for improvements that may be necessary out there, and then we can discuss that at the future of maybe where would be the most critical areas that we could start making repairs and how we would systematically go about upgrading some of the electrical and other utilities within the campgrounds, because they're old, but they're wildly popular. I mean, they're highly used. So And other than that, Wildwood Bridge has been repaired and riprap was placed. The park was reopened in mid-June.
Great.
That's all I have.
Go out there and
that would
swing
be
on the
good.
bridge, huh?
That would be
Indeed.
good for
We test it out.
our road trip to see the Wildwood.
Yeah.
And you could have a picnic there, Drew. You can
Who's buying lunch? Yep.
bring.
I have a question about the detour on Highway 22.
Okay.
They've reopened it from County Road 90. It looks like they've done very little work to that stretch of road. Do you know why they had it closed for so long?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
No.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Just,
They didn't do anything to it, did
looked
they?
like they
The
did
south of 90, you said?
south of 90. I took it the other day, and
Oh,
they've done like
Yeah, it was really only closed from, I think they just had it blocked off at 90 because that was where the official detour was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The actual work didn't, really only went to slightly north of
Sure, okay.
Buford.
Buford,
Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Buford.
they didn't do much on that.
Yeah, they
part
didn't
above
do
it.
anything north
No.
of
Yeah,
10.
That,
Okay.
that work
Okay.
from 10 to the north to 15 will be done next year.
Okay.
And then from 15 up through 90 to 1,800 feet north will be a pavement, just a kind of
Yeah.
a Band-Aid
Okay.
10-year fix.
Okay, good.
Yep, so. All right, gentlemen, thank you for your
All right.
time and have a
Thanks,
good day.
Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. Oh, do we?
Chair, do you want to keep on, or do you want a quick
You want a little
break?
break? Anybody-
Yeah,
anybody-
let's finish it up.
Finish it
So
up?
let's-
Okay. Well, then we go back to administrative services. and-
Item number 6 in your packet,
Six it
Mr.
would
Chair and
be, yep.
Commissioners, is a joint powers agreement with the St. Paul Port Authority. This is for a property assessed clean energy loan request. This was something that came before the board in a work session a couple months ago, where there's a farmer that wishes to install a solar array. The total cost of that project is $192,000. The Rural Minnesota Energy Board, which we already participate in the PACE program with, only allows loans up to $100,000. And so because of the size of this particular request, the St. Paul Port Authority is willing to fund that, and it does require, though, that Blue Earth County join the joint powers agreement with the Port Authority.
I move approval for that.
Been
Second.
moved in second, discussion?
What a great idea. I mean, all the ports we have in Blue Earth County. Just a joke.
We realize it's an economic
Yeah.
development
Just a
tool.
joke. Just a joke. No,
Um,
it is great that we can team up with larger entities like that and provide stuff for our constituents. I think it's always plus so that we can do stuff, and it's for a great cause. So good stuff.
It must be pretty good for the Port Authority, like for the St. Paul Port Authority to want to be involved in that. So they must figure it out numbers wise it's going to work for them. 'Cause
We actually do have a lot of train
yeah.
usage back and forth in Blue Earth County. So it all depends what you consider a port.
Yeah, well, I know that it goes back with North Mankato and their Port Authority. And I remember when that happened years ago. Happened to be there for that one, but I'm just saying it must
Yeah, they
be.
don't
It's
even
just
have a
interesting.
train going through their
Yeah,
city.
It's interesting with the
Mainly it's-
how it's expanded like that.
Yep.
It's administratively, I guess. Do we get any kind of help administratively, Bob, or?
No, there'll be no cost to Blue Earth County, there's no revenue, it's just, we become a mechanism to collect the special
Yeah, fiscal
assessment and
agent type.
pass the money on to the lender.
We just set it up.
All it is a way for us to help our constituents.
Yep, yep.
But we get a flat fee, administrative fee
Yeah.
for setting it up, don't we? A few $100s.
Maybe, I
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen
think
that
it's
in the
pretty-
paperwork, but,
It seems like there's enough of to cover like the basic administrative fees and
Okay.
built into it, so.
Good stuff.
All right. So we need a motion, don't we?
Got the motion
We
already.
already got the
Yep.
motion, I'm sorry, we do have it. Do we, any more further discussion is what I want to ask? Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, items number 7 in your packet is notice of a public hearing. We're requesting the board set a public hearing to review capital improvement plan and the issuance of capital improvement bonds. This would be to refinance the bonds that we have on the Justice Center. So we're recommending that a public hearing be set at 9:15 a.m. on August 15th of this year. The refinancing, as the board is aware, is something that became available after 10 years of the original bond. This would actually be shifting it over to general obligation bond instead of lease revenue bonds, because the interest rate there will be better for the county, and so there's a projection of savings of over $400,000 with that refinancing. So believe that that's in our best interest to do that.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion or questions regarding the bond? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. So that leads us to
Item number
Define-
8 in your packet,
Yep.
Mr. Chair, is the
Financial.
financial status report for June 30th. We're halfway through our fiscal year. You'll see that both revenue and expenditures, though, are at under 40% of our budget, so both are lagging behind a little bit. Some of that's related to road projects. Again, kind of the late work that's being done this year has contributed, certainly on the expense side. We do obviously show a fairly large deficit in our 2017 budget, which was planned use of reserves, and so that also plays into the revenue side being under what our budget is. You'll see that a lot of the individual revenue lines are fairly close to our target for this time of year. On the expenditure side, we have a number of categories, largely those large contracts and fees for road projects, as well as our building and equipment purchases, are lagging behind a little bit. Overall, though, you'll see the total revenue is just under $44 million. Total expenses are $40.5 million. So at this point in the year, we're showing a surplus, even though we budgeted a deficit. So we'll anticipate in the second half of the year we'll see more activity on the expense side. In the enterprise fund, you'll see that our total revenues are $1.6 million against expenditures of 1.57, so pretty even in terms of revenue and expense at the landfill. The second page has our cash balances. Again, no major changes there. We continue to see those funds being sufficient to cover the overall needs of the various departments and categories of dedicated funds. So be happy to answer any questions that the board has about the financial status report.
Any questions? Bob? I don't have anything. Looks pretty good.
All right, then the last item, the additional item, is an application for an exempt permit by the Holy Family Parish. You'll have that in front of you. This is a gambling permit request for gambling at the Blue Earth County Fair, July 27th through the 30th. So recommending approval here by the board.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved second. Discussion? That's what they do every time. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. All right, I think that concludes.
That's all we have for today,
All we
Mr.
have.
Chair.
I have one point of information.
What, sir?
If it's okay, if I could be relieved from lunch. I have a 12:30 call-in. And so I've missed one, so I thought maybe I better.
Sure, better get on
We
it.
don't want you to late then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will move to recess.
Moved, recess, or second?
Second.
Second? On favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're recessed.